And welcome back to the Gay Racing Podcast. Zack and Alex are back with you. And I just want to say before we get started, happy Pride Month to all the Blaney fans.
Oh, you got a flag? Oh my god.
I got a flag. Yep. I heard
Happy
you got
Pride.
a pride flag. You got a pride flag right behind you, that Ryan Blaney flag right there.
I mean, yeah,
There you go. Good
PPG.
soil. I just love how he won first race of Pride Month. This is so great. We have a lot to talk about today on the Gay Racing Podcast. I'm Zack.
I'm Alex.
I almost said right next to me. Girl, you are not right next to me.
I was a week ago.
You were a week ago, right? Well, when we were at the Indy 500, go check out that episode if you haven't. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about today, Alex. Of course, usual NASCAR at Nashville, IndyCar, and IMSA were at Detroit. IMSA had a banger race. I'm very excited to talk about. F1 was in Spain. We might mention that. But it's Pride Month.
Happy Pride.
Kind of a big deal around here. Obviously, and we have some things to talk about with that, Alex.
Yeah.
I just want to say, first off, we're not going anywhere, in case you were wondering, because I don't know. I've been looking around and I'm like, there's a lot less rainbows this year, and it's a little concerning.
We're always normally the only account with like rainbows in our profile picture. I think this year might be the only one still in Pride Month.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about that. First thing I want to talk about before we get into all the races this weekend is the DHL Pride livery.
I love
Dawn. Not there this year.
Okay, well, I can get over that.
It was on. This is the Romain Grosjean livery. Zack has on the Romain Grosjean Pride DHL jersey.
Right, but Pillow had it last year, and so it's like, why? Where is it?
He ran it at the Indy 500 last year, and we waited to say anything in case it was a Pride Month only thing this year, and it was not at Detroit, so it's just not a thing.
Yeah,
that's disappointing. To preface everything here, not surprising, right? Disappointing, but not surprising.
I'm almost a little surprised, though.
Really?
Because I just think we wouldn't. I feel like we're taking backward steps.
Oh, definitely.
That's why I'm surprised. I didn't think it'd be possible to take backward steps. Like, it's
current events in this country have resulted in that, unfortunately. That's why we're going to keep doing what we're doing, because no matter what, we're not going anywhere. Following that, the DHL livery not being there, that's disappointing. I would say a little bit bigger step here is that NASCAR and IndyCar did not acknowledge Pride Month, unlike in previous years. And I want to talk about this for a moment, because if NASCAR specifically had done it, they have invited transphobic people.
I'm glad they didn't say anything.
LGBTQ plus phobic people to races. Specifically at COTA, they had a transphobic person doing the invocation at COTA, but I don't think if they did it, it would feel genuine. I think people would have gone after them. So that was probably
they can keep their little rainbows. I don't need it from them.
Yeah, like I'm wearing a Pride NASCAR shirt from a few years ago, but and I'm glad they put this out. I'm glad they put it out when they did, but at this point,
it's limited edition.
IndyCar didn't say anything. IMSA didn't say anything. The Pride post
their own stuff.
Zack, when they first did this a few years ago, I believe it was 2020 or 2021. It was a big deal. Huge. Because motorsports are a very conservative leaning sport, and specifically NASCAR, just like, whoa, NASCAR acknowledges gay people exist. That's crazy. And it was a really emotional thing, at least for me. I don't remember if it was for you or not, but it was a big deal.
I think it shows how much things can change in 5 years, because it was a huge deal back then. But I'm just thinking about it now. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's normal. Okay.
Right.
I mean, because Pride has just come that far in our society to, and of course, me personally, I've been slightly complacent because I've surrounded myself with a great community online in real life. I mean, I do this podcast with you, and we've been doing it for 5 years. So it's like when we started doing this, it was like a big deal. It felt like to have this platform, and it still is today. It's just like I've gotten complacent because it's just, this is just usual for me, right? So that's what kind of makes it a bigger impact this year, looking around and just seeing literally not just one thing take a step back everywhere. Everything's taking a step back.
Right.
It's just like, I mean, is it like, does it matter? Like, if it's just stupid little rainbows on a social profile, so it doesn't really matter.
I think it does matter because it's just like, hey, we acknowledge you exist. Here's a stamp of approval.
You're welcome.
Of you.
You are welcome.
You are welcome at our events.
Some people feel like they're not welcome in this world at all because they're gay. That's how
exactly.
Because their parents are abusive, or they got fired from a certain opportunity, or whatever. Like, and then we see what's going on with our lawmakers and stuff. So
exactly. And there are some. We're going to focus on sports here, but there are some other sports leagues that have acknowledged Pride Month this year. Super Motocross was, I believe, the only motorsport one that I saw.
That's really cool.
Yeah. There are some teams doing some smaller things. But Super Motocross, they put a Pride post out. They do the Monster Energy Supercross series, but the comments on the post have since been disabled.
Oh, so there are negative comments. Oh, well, there's always people making negative comments about Pride stuff. Doesn't surprise me.
Some of the negative comments were from championship winning drivers. The most recent champion winning driver in Supercross. I don't know if we want to name names, Zach, but
you mean Cooper Webb?
Cooper Webb.
Yeah, I will. They felt like publicly saying that Pride was a problem.
Multi-time champion Ryan Villopoto felt he had to say something.
Ken Roxon, which. Yeah. Dude, you dyed your hair.
Pink hair, Ken Roxon.
What are we doing? Come on.
But
Justin Cooper.
But for real. They are bold enough to loudly say they are against them doing that. That's again another note. Like, we have taken a lot of steps back in just 5 years. I feel like Super Motocross has done this before, and it was like not much of a response, right?
People
like, fans had a response, but yeah.
People feel more empowered to fight against it.
People are being very bold. Yeah. People are very bold right now and feel like they can say whatever they want and get away with it. But look, we're not going away. Not just Zack and I, but LGBTQ plus people as a whole are not going anywhere. We are a community that's going to stick around. In the past, there's a whole history lesson to go into. I'm not going to, but everyone knows there's been tried to get rid of LGBTQ people in the past before. Time and time again, it's failed every single time. They're going to fail again this time. It's not going to work. And kudos Super Motocross for keeping the post up. You have your biggest names in your sport publicly saying, hey, take this. No, I don't agree. Like, okay.
Are you an idiot for saying that? Like, this is your this is your life. And something that lets you be a really cool Supercross rider, and you're publicly making it look like that not everyone's welcome to watch your sport.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Just don't say anything at all. If you're going to be nasty, just keep it to yourself. That's what I don't get.
And here's my comment to that. The argument is a lot of times, don't shove it down my throat. Well, you're shoving your hatred down our throats.
Right.
We are just trying to exist. We started this podcast on the basis of we're going to start a community for people like us. We are in our own little bubble, and our main goal isn't to necessarily become the biggest racing podcast. Our goal is to be the biggest podcast or the podcast or community for LGBTQ plus people and allies. That's what we're trying to do. And people will find us on social media and say, why are you making your name all about sexuality? Blah, blah, blah. It's that's the whole thing.
Well, there's 15-year-old
none of us exist, really.
15-year-old me would have loved this podcast.
Same. Oh, my God. I would have been crying.
I needed this podcast, actually.
Same.
Just saying.
And Zach, we get comments nearly every week. People thank you so much for doing this. And we really appreciate comments like that. It really validates what we do every week. Yeah. It means a lot. But to stay on the positive note here, the MLB baseball, they themselves actually posted a Pride post, and then a bunch of MLB teams, a lot of NFL teams are continuing to support Pride. A lot of baseball teams are actually having Pride nights. I live I live in Kansas City, and the Kansas City Royals are doing a Pride Night, I think, in a week or two.
I wonder if I have a local
cool.
baseball, like it's like a state level kind of thing in my city. So I wonder if they have a Pride Night. That might be fun.
Yeah,
because going to like a Pride parade's a lot of peopling for me.
Right, but kind of as we said earlier, like what does a rainbow logo mean? But like the MLB doing it, especially this year, that's huge. And I'd rather be seen as something profitable to these people rather than like invisible and they don't want anything to do with us, you know?
Yeah.
So where do we go from here as a community? I think whether sport leagues celebrate us or not, or companies, organizations, whatever, they acknowledge we exist or whatever, we're still here. We're going to continue to be here like we've been saying.
That's why we started. We started this before NASCAR acknowledged us. Yep. So we're going to keep chugging along.
So, embrace your communities, empower one another, and keep fighting. And like Zach, I've known you for 6 years now, which is crazy.
We're getting old.
We're getting very old. Our friendship has honestly been the best thing that could happen to me for many reasons. But like finding another person who is gay that also liked racing, that really changed my life. And for the best.
Damn, you're going to make me start crying.
I'm going to start crying too.
We're not even 11 minutes in, so let's calm down here.
I know. But seriously, like just a community of people like us has really been impactful, not just for us, but for a lot of our listeners. Yeah. And we're going to keep doing that.
On that note, I would like to announce the Gay Racing Podcast is doing nothing for Pride Month. To take we're just like all the other we're doing nothing. Actually, we're going to desaturate our logo for the month of June. We're going to rename to the brands.
We're going to rename to the Straight Racing Podcast, which is just like every other podcast out there.
Pride Month is over. As Cooper Webb said, no.
In all seriousness,
we have a lot going on.
Just like we have done the last couple of years. Throughout the month, we're going to have several LGBTQ plus individuals on the show who work in motorsport, and watch out for those. And if you're one of our Patreon members, you'll actually get those early for like roughly half a week, depending on whenever the episodes are recorded. And you can actually do that for just $2 a month. Again, you don't have to at all. It'll be on YouTube as well. But $5 a month to get the episode early. But for $2 a month, you can ask questions and stuff, find out who the guests are early and everything. And once we're done recording here, Zach, we're going to announce to our Patreon people who the first guest is. Exciting.
Yeah, that will be exciting. We're booked and busy.
We're booked and busy. We got a schedule. We kind of have a schedule going.
I never felt more professional and like this is a full like a big boy job than the month of June, because we keep busy and it's really exciting. So
and guys,
for y'all to see what we got planned.
We're still like working on finalizing and choosing who we're going to have as a guest and everything. I'm really excited for who we are wanting and who we're talking to. Be a good month.
Yeah.
In conclusion, happy Pride.
Bye. No, we don't talk about racing.
Anyway, let's do the racing part of the name now. NASCAR was at Nashville.
That's pretty gay. Going to Nashville. I don't know. Pretty fitting.
Used to be called the Ally 400. That's gone too. At the Cracker Barrel 400.
Oh my God! Literally. See, Ally making that like the Pride race would have ate.
Oh, it would have
on June 1st.
Even if it was subtle. Yeah,
rainbow walls. Come on, let's get into it. NASCAR at Nashville. Speaking of gay people, the gay people were very happy last night because Ryan Blaney finally got his first one of the season. Felt like a long time coming. Like Ryan Blaney, to me, this season feels like he would have had 5 wins if you take out the stage cautions.
Yep.
Because there is no other car, and I think the stats back this up. He is the best on the long runs. Period. When it's hard to pass, the 12 car finds a way to make passes, right? Even after qualifying outside the top 10. It is scary how good this 12 team is, and it made it crazy that it took till June for this team to finally get their win, Alex. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yep. And Zach, we've said that the last 2 years. Penske really starts heating up around June. Our friend Avery Hage posted on Blue Sky that Ryan Blaney now has more career wins in the month of June than any other month in the calendar. Like, he really picks up right around now.
Well, that's the thing, though, because he hasn't picked up performance at all. He's had this performance all year, so I don't even want to say that.
That is true.
His teammates were like sweeping the month of May low key, like, and then Josh, like Penske. In fact, Penske, I'm almost wondering if Penske's peaking too early. I don't want to have that conversation right now because they're normally not this fast and winning this many races. But you look at this weekend last year. Blaney was running up front, almost won a Gateway. Austin Cindric won it instead after Blaney ran out of fuel. So it's like there's a point to it. And Blaney does have a lot of wins in June, almost had more. So you're right.
Right. Yeah, I think we're both right. Just like you said last week about something. We're both right. Yeah. Man, you're right, though. Blaney could have had like 5 wins already at this point of the year. Like, he's always in the top 5. Something goes wrong. He lost an engine one race, and then that Darlington, he was going to win Darlington, and then that late caution came out.
Yeah.
There's so many other
getting
races.
caught up in wrecks. And
he almost won Kansas. Like, one more lap of Kansas, he probably wins that one.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. And what's really interesting about Penske last night specifically is the way they got their track position, because you saw literally it was him, Cindric, and Logano up front at the start of stage 2, I believe. And they had this really interesting strategy because it was really hard to pass last night at Nashville. Blaney could still do it, but it's, you can't. It's still really hard. They kept they ran really long because tire wear wasn't really a big deal in stage 1. But I think what a lot of people are kind of missing from this puzzle is the traffic, because when you stay out longer, I feel like you're less likely to be in traffic because you're not coming out in like the middle of the pack, if that makes sense, right? Well, you might have your like certain lappers like Cody Ware and whatever, but I feel like it's going to be less dense than you like cycling out and trying to pass like everyone that's still running out, or everyone else that undercut you. I think staying out in cleaner air was a bigger factor than people are realizing. With that said, though, the tires were not wearing much. Blaney ran like didn't he run like over 100 laps on his left sides?
It was something like that.
Yeah, like it was getting like he had older tires than Hamlin at one point when he passed.
Well, and he was running identical lap times to the cars who had pitted and were leading.
That's why I think that was a clean air thing, because Blaney still had clean air or cleaner air because there's just less dense traffic in front of him. I think that was the but if there was tire wear, even if you do have clean air, that shouldn't be happening. Like that doesn't happen at Darlington or Homestead because the difference is huge. So I don't know.
And then at another point, a little bit later in the race, Ryan took 2 tires on one of the pit stops, which gained him more track position. That's what put him into 3rd later on. And he didn't leave the top 3 rest of the race. He was up there. He ended up passing Byron and Hamlin for the lead. That was probably the most exciting part of this race, was that little battle.
That was fun. That was actually really fun racing. And we'll talk about the quality of the race, I guess, later or never. But that was
our
definitely the race.
Patreon member Dirt says Blaney has arrived. How will he finish the regular season? Tracks he's won before, such as Michigan and Pocono, are in the next 3 weeks. Can he keep winning? Yeah, he can keep winning. And how's he going to finish regular season? I mean, if he can have luck, like you said, Zach, he could have won many more races earlier. But now that we're getting into like peak Blaney season, we have a lot of tracks he's really good at. Iowa's down the road. Like, the sky's the limit, really.
2 super speedways. You're right. But it's NASCAR. I mean,
and that's why he only has 1 win this year. It's NASCAR.
That's why he only has 1 win. Larson only has 3 wins. Like, where how many laps has Larson led this year? Right? Like, yeah. It's NASCAR. It's just you gotta. It's like Mario Kart. You could be the best player ever and win only like 25% of your races. Like,
I saw a post on Instagram last night that was like, I would win every race in Mario Kart if everyone wasn't so unsportsmanlike throwing stuff at me.
Literally.
That's literally Ryan Blaney, though.
Well, that's NASCAR. Like, if people weren't being unsportsmanlike and arrow blocking me, I would win more races. Like, that's literally how this next gen car races. Speaking of unsportsmanlike, Carson Hocevar. He got his best career finish of 2nd last night. Slay clean.
Good for him.
There we go. I ain't going to grab a pride flag. I thought so. yesterday was a little interesting for him. A little Carson boy. What did Carl call him? Carson Hocevar. He got into a little incident with Ricky Stenhouse.
Yeah.
And that was a big drama at first. And it was kind of a racing deal for me because it's one of those things where it's like everyone has a choice to make there. Both people had a choice to make there. Either Ricky's going to chop the nose off or let him have the lane, or Carson's going to send it in or not send it in. And well, they both decided to be stubborn, but I kind of pinned that on Carson. I don't know what you thought about that incident, Alex.
I thought it was just a racing thing, honestly. I think Jeff Gluck honestly put it best that Hocevar kind of has a Ross Chastain disease for anything. Anytime a situation happens around him, he's going to get blamed for it because he's caused so many situations in the past.
Yeah, but that's the point. Yeah, you have a reputation.
Because he has little. Because no one's going to give him benefit of the doubt anymore because he's caused.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah,
I mean, no one else was spinning anybody else out in turn 3, so I don't know. Alex Bowman did it to himself. Like, I'm just saying, like, that's what kind of frustrates me. And, Ricky said in his post-race interview that he can't really have a conversation about it tonight because it's too expensive, alluding to the fine he got and what's it called? And at the All-Star race last year. So the good news about this is that Carson Hocevar is backing, any kind of behavior up with unreal speed, because he was a threat to win the Coke 600, like to win the Coke 600 last week, comes back this week and finishes second. That is really, really impressive.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like,
he's reminded me of Kyle Larson's early years in the 42 car because he's running up front a lot. He's making mistakes, which Larson did a lot as well. And you're starting to get the question of like, when's he going to win that race? And that was the question for Larson for such a long time.
And that's the question I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's sooner than later.
And mind you, just like Larson and Ganassi, Spire, I know they've made huge improvements, but they are still not a top tier team. And Hocevar's running like top 5 somewhat frequently now. It's really impressive. And staying with Spire, our Patreon member Dirt, we're going to throw it back to him. He asked what the hell happened to his teammate Justin Haley. McDowell's pace hasn't seemed too far off Carson's. Is Haley losing? Childers holding him back? My first thought is that the 7 car's never really been that good.
It's a field filler to me. I mean, he's just kind of always perpetually mid-pack. It's just how it is.
I know LaJoy gets a lot of flack for that, and probably rightfully so. But the 7 car's has never been that good, and I don't think Haley's necessarily that good either. So
I think when you stack them up to Carson, like it's a Kyle Larson CGR situation. Like Kyle Larson brought the Ganassi cars up to a level where they had no business participating at, right? Fighting for wins. And that's how I feel about Carson Hocevar. And the Spire cars have made improvements. I mean, Carson has won, and Michael McDowell, I believe, like they won a few poles in the last month or so. Like they have a certain type of speed. I don't know if it's like speed that's really good for the racing, but I think when you just compare them to Carson, they're just McDowell and Haley are just going to look worse. There's just no way around it. Because I think Hocevar has that special little, it's talent. It's just talent. Because it's just like, there's no reason to say that he's been this fast. Like it's only his second year in the Cup Series.
Yeah.
He had a few years in trucks, and through all that, he's been able to work on his craft enough to be able to keep up with these, with Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin, and put it to them. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's special. Like, it's cool. Like, and that's what's so interesting about Carson Hocevar, love or hate him. At least he's backing this up with performance, which was something that Ross Chastain wasn't really. He kind of was doing it at his peak, but I don't know. At least, and also, I've said before, at least Carson, like, not that he doesn't own up to it, which I like. Like, he doesn't like actually apologize for it, which, like, he's not trying to. he doesn't do fake apologies. That's what I like about him.
And that's better than what Chastain does. Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree also with, Haley. Haley's just kind of there. He's just kind of a field filler. We don't.
Yeah,
really
and I don't know how much losing Childress has anything to do with that. He wasn't doing that good when Childress was there.
Did Haley get in a wreck last night, or was that McDowell? I feel like one of the Spire cars got in one of those. I don't know. They wrecked so much in stage 2. I don't even know.
Yeah, that's true. Stage 2 is kind of a mess. Some shout outs here. Who else had a good run? Bubba Wallace recovered to 6th after an early speeding penalty. That's really impressive. Remarkable recovery.
With how hard it was to pass, that is impressive.
Very. And that's something he wouldn't have done a few years ago. Eric Jones finished 7th. He ran top 10 or top 5 pretty much all night long. There was a long stretch where he was 4th. Really impressive for him.
Was it him or John Hunter that was like up in the top 10 at the 600?
I think that was Eric.
I think it was Eric. Eric? Wow. Okay. They're having a good
Legacy run. Motor Club.
Mm-hmm. Kyle Larson came back from just not a good weekend. No specific issues, just not fast. So the beginning of the race, he got out of the groove and basically went to the back early in the laps. Then after one of the cautions, they took the green. He had a loose wheel, came back, unscheduled green flag stop. Them being able to claw back to 8th is really impressive. I think those stage 2 cautions kind of helped them a little bit, but
yeah,
that's really impressive for that 5 team. I mean, for a bad day for them to be 8th place, that's what you want if you're a championship level top tier team. So
right,
good for them.
And Christopher Bell actually spun at one point, and he actually recovered to 10th. I was looking at the results, and I was like, really? Bell finished 10th? That's surprising.
Same thing. If a bad day's for you, it's 10th. Because Christopher Bell is weird, because I feel like Toyota... Well, Denny Hamlin's been really good, but I feel like his teammates, even though we saw Chase Briscoe leading in stage 1, his teammates just aren't on Hamlin's level.
Right.
Which really kind of surprises me.
Bell has a lot of wins, but most of them are obviously at the start of the year.
Yeah,
but he's not as consistently up there, right, as Hamlin.
I think at the short tracks, you do see Bell and stuff, but I don't know. The 20 team doesn't really have what they used to have at intermediates, because I feel like they were really good. They were supposed to win Las Vegas last fall. They had the fastest car. So I don't know.
By the way, you mentioned Denny Hamlin. It was his 700th career Cup start.
It's crazy.
Which means he's now tied Jimmy Johnson when Cup starts, because it's 600 with Jimmy Johnson's 700 start. That's nuts. I remember Denny Hamlin's rookie year. I'm getting so old. Oh, I'm getting old.
His rookie year was right before I started following NASCAR. He's just been, yeah.
He did a couple races in 2005, and then his rookie year was 06. And he got a pole in 05, and his few starts this way ran the Clash.
I think the day that Joey Logano retires, because Joey Logano is the oldest driver that I actually saw start as a rookie.
Right.
I saw him come in as a rookie.
Dude.
When he retires, I will be in a mental hospital.
I'm gonna need hospitalized when Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Logano all retire. I can't do this.
I mean, who's gonna beat Carson Hocevar's butt? What are we gonna do? Because Ricky ain't doing it. He said he can't afford it. So what are we doing?
Carson's tall. Kyle Larson can't do it. He's short.
Yeah, that's why he doesn't. He minds his business. He got spooked by Bubba Wallace at Las Vegas that one year. He's like, I ain't doing that again.
Let's talk about the TV coverage. Amazon Prime continues to eat, to impress. Oh my gosh. The last 65 laps were commercial free. That's awesome.
You know what else is awesome?
Carl Edwards, dude.
The shirts he wears and his arms and all of him.
Listen, I was telling you.
Yep.
Carl Edwards, I didn't think much of him when he drove. He was just kind of he's a driver. He's good.
I think his fitness thing was cool. That was kind of his personality. And then, his
the backflips.
Murder attempts on Brad Keselowski. Those are cool.
They were cool. They were cool.
Yeah. Quirky.
Dude, Carl Edwards is so hot.
He is fine.
Oh my God.
I mean, because I think it's just I'm not used to seeing hot men or hot people in that space. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to watch my NASCAR post race show, and over here I'm like, girl, Carl. Like, I'm used to looking at, I don't know, like Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick, right? Like, okay, yeah, here's some men that talk about NASCAR, but that's a man.
That is a man.
A nice
dude.
Looking
that shirt fit him so well.
Even,
oh my God,
I can't believe I got to give Corey LaJoy some compliments. Even Corey LaJoy looked all right. He looked
okay. Yeah.
He looked all right. That video of him and Carl getting excited at the 600, that was a really cute video. That was cute. And it just, that makes me happy. And this ties into the broadcast. So we're not going to be gay anymore. But like, you can tell that the people that are involved in this broadcast actually, they care about NASCAR.
They actually care.
Like, Fox Sports literally feels like they are just here to get a check. Like, okay, we're going to cover this stupid NASCAR
We have race. The Daytona 500 and we're out.
And then we'll cover all these other races. But Prime is making every race like, kind of like, I feel like what NBC has done a good job of, like, there are NASCAR fans watching us tonight and this is what they want to see out of their coverage. We're going to deliver that.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, this is only a second time we've done this. Like,
no big deal.
I don't know if this is, I don't think this is too extreme to say, but that's the best NASCAR broadcasting I have watched in my lifetime.
And you said this last week too, and I was pretty surprised. That's 2 weeks in a row you're saying that.
Because, like, I mean, watching at the 600 on our hotel TV and stuff, like, I think you could compare this to some older broadcasts, like, you know, all the 2000s broadcasts and stuff, but just the fact that there's all these modern, like, what's it called? These modern quality of life things. Like, we get the hour post race show and you don't have to change the channel, right? Because Speed Channel used to have like a hour post race on NASCAR Victory Lane. Like, they used to have that, but like having it right after the race on the same streaming little channel that you're on, that's great, convenient. The quality looks amazing. The picture is crisper than it is on Fox and NBC. What's it called? Like, in just the whole cast and crew, or at least, you know, the cast that we see on TV, absolutely perfect, right? I was trying to make fun of Corey LaJoy last night because we were watching, I was FaceTiming you, and I was trying to make fun of Corey LaJoy last night, and then he came out and spilled tea. And then I'm like, girl, I didn't know Corey LaJoy is capable of like saying something really interesting on this. He was calling out Ricky Stenhouse because, you know, and really all the drivers, because y'all complain about Carson Hocevar, but you don't do anything about Carson Hocevar, right? Regardless of NASCAR's penalties or not, like, they're still, like, they don't do anything about him. And I thought that was, I like how Corey said that. It doesn't feel like they're afraid to say anything.
Right.
That's the thing. Like,
they're so refreshing.
Even like Carl Edwards kind of bringing Carson Hocevar up during the pre-race. And I felt like Carl, he could have done this even more. Like, Carl was kind of challenging Carson on why race like this. I wanted to see more of that because I think that could have been really, really interesting.
Right.
Like, just, I could watch this for 8 hours. You know, like, I feel like people, like football people, I feel like they, in September and October, they sit down for 8 hours and they'll watch all these games. They do it for 8 hours and they don't get exhausted because,
right,
girl, when we have to watch IndyCar and NASCAR on the same day, Alex, it's exhausting, right?
Yeah. I'm so glad there was a big gap between IndyCar and NASCAR yesterday. Right. Like, thank God.
But I feel like NASCAR on Prime, I am entertained the entire time.
Yeah.
Because I'm a NASCAR fan and I'm not being treated like a baby and they're actually telling me about the race. I get to watch the race. I get to watch where the action is because they're actually cutting to where there's battles and not just following the leader. They're not talking about something irrelevant and stupid. When they have a guest up in the booth, like last week, Jeff Gordon, they're still talking about the race. It's not just a random podcast segment. This is the best. I don't think what's a better NASCAR broadcast in history? Because I think
something NBC's done.
You can have comparable ones, but I think the streaming part of it is really what can like elevate it past anything we've seen on network TV.
Definitely.
And I am so ready to come back the next 3 weeks and glaze them again.
Right.
It is such a pleasure. That race was awful last night, but we're not talking about it right now.
And see,
because the broadcast was good.
If this race was on Fox, which it would have been a year ago, we would have been on here being like, that race was terrible. Fox sucks. Oh my God.
The next gen car sucks. Oh my gosh. Why do we watch this?
They gave you storylines. They gave you things to watch for. They actually showed you good battles. It's so good. I'm actually excited for Michigan. Michigan's a track I used to not care about at all, but I'm like, oh my God, Michigan. Oh my God.
It's pretty decent. I think it's, it's got the intermediate next gen flair to it. I think it'll be kind of fun,
and so Prime only has 3 races left. Michigan, Mexico City, and Pocono.
That's
the
disappointing.
TNT segment is after that. It's going to have a lot of the same people. TNT. I'm curious if production wise is going to be the same.
I'm hoping it is because it's the same people. Like at least that we see on TV.
It's on air. So, hopefully, it's a lot of the same on air people.
I mean, there might
changes.
be like, are we going to get 60 laps commercial free at the end? I don't know.
I doubt it.
They might. I don't know. But
sure.
That's just such a shame that this is only for 5 races. Such a shame.
The TNT segment is coming up, and they're going to have the in-season tournament, and it's now locked in who's going to be a part of that. It's like SVG's not in it. Cody Ware's not in it.
SVG's not in it, and there's like a bunch of road courses. That's crazy.
Yeah. Patreon member Dirt wants to know who we think the number 1 seed will be in the tournament in 3 weeks.
And they're going to have that alt cast on, like...
Yeah.
I don't
Larry
know.
Mack's going to be in the booth?
I don't know if it's like a stream or a channel or something to follow that tournament specifically. I think that's cool. A good sign because that's a lot of extra like stuff that I think TNT will care to. Who do we think the number 1 seed will be through these next 3 races? So Michigan, Mexico, and Pocono. I don't know.
If Blaney can survive Mexico, I'm putting my money on him.
Yeah, that's who I was kind of thinking too. Is it crazy to think Carson Hocevar? Like,
if he keeps this up, I guess not.
I don't know. It's a thing. Like, you're asking me to predict the next 3 races. I don't know.
It could be Larson, I guess, if he wakes up.
Larson's in a little bit.
He's kind of checked out right now.
He's taking a break. He's been working. He worked really hard in the month of May. He had a really hard Sunday last week. He's trying to recover.
Denny Hamlin could be a really good one. He's not good at road courses.
The road course thing is who's good at road courses, and Christopher Bell maybe he's good at road courses, but I don't know. He's not that good on intermediates right now. So.
Yeah, if this were 2
William
years
Byron.
ago,
It's William Byron. That's
William Byron.
He's going to finish 2 years ago. Race.
2 years ago, I would have said Chris Buescher.
Okay, I'm making William Byron is my pick.
William Byron. I'm going with Blaney. A good question. Let's move on to IndyCar. We're not going to talk as much about this. Yeah. Unfortunately. Just kidding. This was probably the best IndyCar race of the year, not because the racing was good, but because it was entertaining.
I didn't actually really watch yesterday, so you're going to have to carry me through this segment.
Alex Palou's podium streak ended. He was shunted by David Malukas. Dave said he screwed up.
Obviously.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks. No, he hits you with the... I screwed up.
Oh my God. I forgot about this. This kid posts, I'm so sorry, Alex Palou, I hit you. I'm so sorry. Be serious for 5 minutes. Oh my God. Just text him.
Just text him. Oh my God.
Anyway.
That's the hero we needed. Palou has been defeated. Ain't that crazy though? God, now Kyle Kirkwood's only going to be like 100 points out of the lead.
Kyle Kirkwood is actually 78 points behind Alex Palou.
That's ridiculous. We only need 2 more DNFs. Well, let's make it happen, little Dave.
Got his second win of the season. He pretty much dominated Detroit. He was on the main. He kind of led the main strategy most of the race. Kirkwood was actually disqualified after the Indy 500 for a penalty.
Right.
Without that, he would have been minus 54 instead of 78. So he still would have been a whole race behind without the DQ. But could matter if Palou has like 2 or 3 more DNFs, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And then Santino Ferrucci got a podium surrounded by, as he called them, the boyfriend teammates on the year anniversary of boyfriend teammates.
That's what we call poetic. That's poetic.
It is poetic. It was kind of hilarious.
Even more poetic is the fact that he got a penalty after the race. The
pride flag
Santino. The pride flag keeps score, apparently.
Santino maintains second place, but he's docked 26 points, 25 points for the penalty, and he lost his 1 point for leading a lap. And the team was fined $25,000.
So I
what
guess
happened? Yeah.
I guess the penalty wasn't severe enough to disqualify.
So here's the thing. The car was 10 pounds above the minimum required weight, but the weight in the driver ballast, which is like near where they're sitting and everything, was underweight. So this was definitely not intentional. So I think IndyCar's like, okay, you're going to get a penalty because you're out of the rules, but like,
or maybe it's more like driver centered, like it's like a Santino penalty.
Because the ballast thing, the weight is added there based on the weight of the driver, and because Santino's so tiny, I'm assuming something had to go wrong.
Well, I don't know, because
I don't know.
Teams are still in control of like everything, so I think it could have been intentional. You never know. Rules are here, and we've talked about this, Penske. Intentional or not, rules are rules. Penalty. That's just where I'm like, is it because it's more of like a Santino thing? Because it's like driver ballast? Is that why? I don't know. I think it's to equalize. I think, driver ballast is to equalize everyone. So it's like Santino and who's tall, like Alexander Rossi getting the same car, but Santino's car is the same weight.
And I was talking to someone on Twitter about this, actually. This person was saying that this should just be a disqualification because, cheating, whatever. I think this is honestly a fair penalty. I do think IndyCar needs to come out with the updated rule book with like, if you do this, you'll get this penalty, blah, 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 blah. That way it's like not, throw a dart at a wall and figure out what penalty they're going to get. Because right now, the rule book basically just says, at IndyCar's discretion, the penalty will be whatever IndyCar decides. That's kind of just what the rule book says, and that's not good.
Yeah, that's what's a little irritating me right now, but I don't know. Yeah, we'll get to that in the tea later, though.
Oh, yeah, we have a lot of IndyCar flavored tea coming up. Just wait. Will Power had to settle for fourth. He ended up shoving Kyle Kirkwood through a corner in Friday practice and did not get a penalty for it. Okay, sure. Why not?
All right.
I think that should have been a penalty. And
it's
maybe
a little egregious.
I think that should have been like a qualifying penalty. Like you lose like a bunch of spots in quali or something. Like that's crazy. But okay, sure, no penalty. As I said, we need a new rule book in IndyCar, obviously.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Some good news. Kiffin Simpson got a top 5, his career best finish. And he was the best Ganassi car at Detroit. Good for him.
Good for him.
Yeah. He was actually up there most of the race, too.
He's in a Ganassi car. You need to start putting together some good races.
Especially, he's in Ericsson's old car. That car was always pretty good, and they've downsized. You're in the third Ganassi car.
Yeah.
It's a good time to step up. There were so many strategies in this race. I couldn't tell you, honestly, all of them and what was going on because Fox Sports sucks at covering strategies.
That's the thing. Like, because IndyCar, especially on street courses, it is all about the strategy. It's hard to pass, and I just like I wasn't at my house when IndyCar was going on, so I brought it up on my phone and I see the leaderboard and I'm like, okay, obviously Christian Rasmussen is not leading this like with the net lead. So what's going on? Like I just
he was on the same strategy as Dixon.
I know NBC used to flash like the number of pit stops they did or like the laps since they pit, and they would flash that every so often, and it would help like casuals or not, understand what this leaderboard means. Because honestly, the thing is, for most of that race, the leaderboard is meaningless. Yeah. It's just meaningless. And I think it just confuses, if you have casuals watching this on Fox, it's just going to confuse them. And then actual fans that are trying to follow the race, and maybe they're like me and they're kind of busy and they're just like kind of, going to and from the TV. They're looking at the TV and they're like, I don't know what's going on. Again, that's kind of my fault. Like if I was watching the whole time, I'd probably have a better understanding of it. I just wish there was like some kind of color coding. Like these guys in yellow pitted at this lap. So this is like, it's almost like they're in a separate class. And I don't know, like just to make the leaderboard easier to read without making it too complicated, I guess. That's all I want.
Right.
Because Fox is not, they're just kind of moseying around wherever the lead is. Like,
see, the booth is good, but something with the direction, they just don't there's a whole thing missing that NBC had, and I think it has to do with the graphics. I think you're right on the money. It's the graphics.
Yeah, because that can be a part of direction. Like you're showing...
I used to be able to follow the strategies perfectly, seamlessly with NBC, but now I'm like, I'm so lost.
Yeah.
And it takes you out of the race.
Oh, yeah.
And Louis Foster and Felix Rosenqvist had a pretty scary crash. A part of the suspension on Foster's car broke, and he was not able to stop his car. He went right into Rosenqvist. I don't know if one of them or both of them were complaining about leg pain. I think Foster was for sure, but really scary crash. Both were okay and everything. This race, like I said at the start of this segment, but IndyCar, probably their best race of the year. I'd still say Indy 500 was better, but
I was pleasantly surprised, but it's also like Detroit. This Detroit track is kind of like Texas and NASCAR, where it's like, it's not going to be a boring race, but it's going to be kind of stupid. And we kind of saw some of that. We saw a lot of incidents. Like that's just what Detroit is. We'll talk about this a little bit later with IMSA too. It's just not a good racetrack. The drivers say it. The fans obviously see that. It's not even like, because at least Monaco and F1 has some flow to it. It's also just iconic.
Well, and Detroit is just a bunch of 90-degree turns.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of Mickey Mouse 90-degree turns. And then you have that one long straightaway where you might pass someone. Right. Well, now, I will say the IMSA guys were finding different places to pass, which was really entertaining. We'll get to that. But for IndyCar, though, where, these cars don't have fenders, we've seen them get aggressive, though. Like, I remember one St. Pete race. I'm like watching Martinsville right now, right? Like, they can make contact, and even last year, it kind of looked like Martinsville. They were throwing it into each other on the corners, but it just gets to the point where it's just, this is stupid. Like, there's no way to actually pass safely, so drivers force the issue.
We're going to get into the tea now because Zack, Pato Award agrees with you about Detroit. He says, quote, "I hate this place. It sucks. It's a horrible track, and I really miss Belle Isle. You can really appreciate what an IndyCar can do around Belle Isle, but here you're just Mickey Mousing around the place."
Yeah, I love how he says that. I love how outspoken Pato is, because he quoted like every corner is like a first gear corner. So it's like you're always... Like a good racetrack to me, like you see this a lot in F1. Like I know F1 gets a lot of flack for some of their track designs, but most F1 tracks, you'll see fast corners, medium speed corners, and slow corners. There's a good variety. It's testing everything that the car is able to do. And, there's probably one or two long straights setting up for passing zones, right? Even F1 street circuits, I think, normally have a pretty good formula to them, right? This Detroit circuit is just no, because it's just a bunch of slow speed corners and you just have to wait till you get to that long straightaway to try anything. And then you go back to Mickey Mousing, as Pato Award says, for like another minute before you get back to the next straightaway, or to the big straightaway. So it's just not fun for the drivers. It's not fun for the fans because the racing's not really that good. It's not like Long Beach. Like Long Beach, you can pass in a few different places, right? So it's just, what are we doing?
And we're not going to drag on the hybrid talk, but Pato also said in a separate interview that the hybrids ruined the Indy 500, and he questions why IndyCar is still using them.
I also question that because, and we saw someone hey, there were two instances this weekend where the cars were able to restart themselves and a caution didn't get brought out. Okay. Cool, I guess.
And I'll answer Pato's question. Why are they running at Detroit? It's because of Chevrolet. Why do they have the hybrids? It's because of Honda.
Interesting.
That point simple. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. I don't see Honda paying. Well, Honda does pay for races. They do sponsor races, but still, this is a big deal for Chevrolet, and I know why they wanted this track in downtown, but that's the thing. As a racing fan, I'm tired of hearing this sucks. This sucks because someone spent a lot of money for it to suck.
Right.
I'm tired of hearing that. I'm tired of hearing it.
Same.
I don't hear it. There are two better racetracks to go to. You got Belle Isle and you got Michigan International Speedway. Pick one.
Yep.
This is the worst of both worlds.
And Still in the T here. Staying with McLaren because, of course, they're always in the T. McLaren team principal Tony Kanaan went after Scott McLaughlin on Twitter after Scott McLaughlin got into Logan
Sargent?
Nolan Siegel. I don't know why I said Logan.
Sargent. He finally made it to IndyCar. He might be in that car soon. I don't know.
Maybe. Tony Kanaan responded to McLaughlin's post after McLaughlin said that he just misjudged the incident. He was given a drive-through penalty for it. Kanaan said, quote, misjudged last week at the Indy 500 on lap 1. Misjudged this week. At least you get a weekend off to square that away. I came looking for your team principal to have a chat, but I couldn't find him. Oh, wait, ...
Is he referencing the fact that like they fired their team principals or something?
They fired Tim Cindric. Yeah.
This is messy.
This
girl.
I think this is a low blow. This is unprofessional.
It's unprofessional.
And I think it's funny, but
I think it's GK getting away with the fact that he's like a big personality in the sport.
This is not the Tony Kanaan that I grew up watching in IndyCar. He was never petty like this. He was always like such a cheerful guy.
Kind of like Elio.
Kind of like Elio. Just like really bubbly and happy and, making jokes. But this is really out of character.
A great role model for the sport.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. This is like a complete 180.
And it's almost like this is something Zack Brown would say. It's like, who else is at McLaren? Oh, Zack Brown. So I'm just like, oh, weird. Yeah. I don't know why he's team principal anyway. I don't think he's qualified for that.
Yeah, why is he so grumpy? I think he's qualified for it. I don't know. Just because you have driving experience doesn't mean you have experience running a team, because that's what that is. So yeah, I don't know, but I don't know. I'm gay. Maybe he is qualified for the job, but he's just making poor choices. I don't know. Tony Kanaan. I think he's had beef with Scott McLaughlin in the past, apparently.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I forgot what it was about. It was about.
I think Tony Kanaan needs to focus on maintaining a single driver lineup for a year. Yeah. So they're good so far, but like that seems to be something they struggle with. And back to Patreon member Dirt. He asks us, could McLaren end up dumping Nolan Siegel? He says
Logan
he's been
Sargent.
Seen.
Yep, Alex is breaking it right here. Logan Sargent to the McLaren number 6.
Dirt says, I've been seeing a lot of people say Nolan Siegel might be on the hot seat at McLaren, but I think it'd be a mistake to let him go mid-season when he's still young and inexperienced. If he fails to improve at season end, which drivers could you see occupying the third McLaren entry? Let's start with Logan Sargent. Why not? Could Logan
Sargent? Can I just say McLaren already let one young superstar go?
Teo Porcher should still be in this car.
Well, David Malukas, like they let him go, and I
forgot about that.
Well, remember when that happened? Yeah. We were definitely saying like we understand why McLaren is doing this.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, hindsight's 2020. It's like, girl, I don't know if they had every right to do that, but I don't know if they should have done that.
Well, I think if they would have kept Teo Porcher, I think that would have been a good choice. But they dumped him pretty fast.
Nolan Siegel, I mean, he's doing exactly what I expect. He's a rookie. What do you expect? He didn't run a full season last year. He did run a lot of races, didn't he?
He ran some, yeah.
I don't know if he ran that much.
Not all of them.
What do you expect out of him? Like, I know he's in the McLaren, but still, IndyCar is such a tight. We kind of see it in NASCAR with like Riley Herbst right now. Like, it doesn't matter if you're with a good organization. If you're not a certain level as a driver, with how tight this field is, how tight these cars are, you're going to be at the back. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
And he's got to make mistakes. It's just part of it. He definitely did break a little bit early, and that's why he got plowed by Scott McLaughlin yesterday. Not saying that's just Nolan's fault, but
yeah,
it's something where it's like he could have done something different and he wouldn't have gotten wrecked. Like
if McLaren pulls a McLaren and does drop him, Logan Sargent, I threw that name out there on accident earlier.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
I still think Linus Lundqvist deserves a ride in IndyCar. I think it's crazy he just doesn't have a ride. Will Power might be available. We talked about that last week. He could be getting replaced by David Malukas at Penske. That's getting a lot of traction and talk on TV, by the way. Fox was talking about that all weekend.
I think that's why Will was pushing Kirkwood through the corners. I think he was just grumpy.
Probably.
When he wanted to prove a point.
Power at McLaren, I don't know if that'd be a good dynamic necessarily, but it'd be kind of what they need low-key in McLaren. They kind of just need like a seasoned veteran, because Pato, he's been there. Pato's been around for a while, but he's not really a veteran yet.
Pato also has only been really at McLaren. He didn't. Right. He had some starts with like I know he attempted the 500 with Juncos, or no, maybe not. I don't remember. But Pato's only been at McLaren. That's the only thing he knows. I think that makes a difference. Right now, they did have Rossi for a few years. Yeah, I don't know if that.
I thought that was going to go better, but yeah.
Yeah. So willpower might be what that team needs, because that team certainly isn't like they're not consistent. That's the thing. Like, they don't have consistent speed, like how you can always count on Andretti at the road or at the street courses. You can always count on Ganassi kind of everywhere. You can count on Penske at the ovals. McLaren, outside of Pato at like ovals, I feel like you can never really count on McLaren to be up there.
Lundgaard's been a hell of a improvement there this year.
Yeah, he's a good driver. I mean, that's just what it is.
If I had to bet, I'm going to assume McLaren keeps Siegel exclusively because he has money. He was also, it sounds to me at least, handpicked by Tony Kanaan. So I guess he's going to stay. I don't know.
I mean, we see TK literally defending him on Twitter, so you better keep him. You're doing all this effort, making people mad about it.
Kanaan never did this for Malukas, never did it for Procer, never did it for Rossi.
I mean, you can't. I think you got to temper your expectations with Siegel. Give him another year. He might be really good. Just let him cook, right? But I don't know. It's motorsports. It's a fast moving business. Especially at Aero McLaren. It's maybe a little bit too fast at McLaren. So,
well, sticking with Detroit, now let's talk about IMSA pretty quickly here. That finish was awesome. Well, you were texting me, oh my gosh, IMSA's getting crazy. I'm like, I guess I'll turn it on. I had like NASCAR practice on, so I was enjoying the prime, but I turned it on. So good. The last 15 minutes or so, awesome.
This race had no business being good, and I'll tell you why. I just talked about how Detroit is one of the worst tracks that we race in professional motorsports in America. It is awful. Bad. It's a 1 hour, 40-minute sprint race for IMSA. We have the prototypes and we have the GTD Pro. So what that means is there's only going to be like one pit stop. So a track that's hard to pass at, there's only one pit stop to mix up any kind of running order or strategy. So that's just not really setting yourself up for success. This race had no business being good, and yet it was an absolute... If you want to ever see what sports cars look like at Martinsville, watch that Detroit race, because they were not afraid to... There was so much bodywork flying off from the drop of the green flag.
There was.
It was, and that's the difference between IMSA and IndyCar when they go to a place like Detroit, because these cars with fenders can afford to get argy-bargy, which I think we literally saw that Saturday. The Indy cars, they couldn't, and also they're having a bunch of problems with all that extra weight. But and it's just weird because you see the prototypes doing stuff that we don't see in IndyCar, and it's like the prototypes are like bigger and heavier.
Right.
It's so weird. Like, they're just not afraid to rough it up. I mean, that start of the race, we saw Felipe Albuquerque in the 10 make like a huge dive bomb on one of the BMWs. Not on that long straightaway, on like a different straightaway. Like, they were finding passing not just on that one straightaway, right? We saw a move for the lead late in the race in the GTP. I believe it was Ricky Taylor in the 10 was it on the Penske 7, I believe?
Penske 7. Who was trying to stay undefeated. Penske.
He was hounding. I think Nazar was in the car. He kind of like did a switchback, and it was awesome. It was just awesome racing.
And then Renger van der Zande in the Acura for Shank caught them both and passed them both. That was awesome, and got the win.
I was watching David Land's IMSA race review, and I believe he talked to Renger about. Because Renger used to drive for Cadillac, and he kind of knew the weakness of the Cadillac, and that's why he was being really aggressive in that corner. Stuff like that is why motorsports is so cool to me, especially IMSA, because these cars are different. That was the best IMSA race of the year. That race had no business being that good. That was the best race of the weekend for me.
That was good.
That, because normally these IMSA races, again, these 1 hour 40-minute races at street courses normally suck. They're just kind of like Long Beach was kind of a snoozer. That was really good. And it was a really big deal, for Cadillac and Ford to have this race in Detroit. I think it's really cool for them. Ford, with their Mustang GT3, Multimatic Motorsports, they won with their number 64. So the 65 won the Daytona race. The 64 won here at Detroit, which, as a Mustang fan, I think that's a really huge deal. They had a really cool race, too, because Corvette was hounding them in the late stages. And what was going on is the Mustang had the straight line speed, but the Corvette had the cornering speed. So Corvette would be hounding the Mustang, throughout the Mickey Mouse section. But as soon as they got on that long straightaway, the pony let it rip, and they built the gap back up. It was some cool racing to watch. And then, as it was like 2 minutes to go, and the prototype leaders were like navigating around them. That's just what. That race encapsulated a lot of what makes IMSA so cool. The aggressive racing, the BMWs trying to murder everybody, the GT BMWs. they hit the other Mustang that ended up not having a good race, and then we saw Porsche and Corvette make contact. The AO Racing Porsche. And they had that funny little like spin out moment where they yeah. That was funny.
That was so funny.
Listen, Alex, that race made me so happy.
I can tell.
One of the best races I've watched this year. I had so much fun watching it. Sports car racing is so cool.
Love it.
Again, that race had no business being good.
Their next race is Watkins Glen in a few weeks.
The 6 hours of the Glen endurance race. That's going to be fun. That's in a few weeks. That will be fun.
And now let's quickly talk about Formula One, because Max Verstappen intentionally crashed into George Russell after his team told him to give up position because they expected a penalty. The FIA actually decided no action on the penalty they expected. But then the FIA dropped Verstappen to 10th after the intentional hit into Russell.
Right.
And
so
this is just so funny to me.
I think it was like on the restart or something, and Verstappen went off the track to keep the position from Russell. That's what it looked like. So the team was telling Max to give the position back. Nico Rosberg on TV was like, no, they should not be telling him to give it back, because Nico, by the way, I love Nico in the booth. He's really good because he's not afraid to say what he wants to say, kind of like why I like NASCAR on Prime. Anyways, Nico was saying no, Max should not give this back up, but Max ended up giving it back up. It's kind of to prevent a penalty. It's okay, I'm going to give this up so I don't get penalized. He technically gave up the position. He let George get his nose out in front, and then going into that corner, he goes and washes up and slams into him.
Most average Max Verstappen thing ever.
What pisses me off is I'm always harping on this guy for how awful he races, and then we have people on our TikTok comments being like, he's not a dirty racer. He races by the rules ahead of the apex first. Well, he was ahead of the apex there. Is that the kind of racing you want to watch?
Oh, man.
So stupid.
So Max is 1 penalty point away from a race ban. You need 12 points for a ban. He has 11. And 2 of those points expire at the end of this month.
Could you imagine that?
That'd be the funniest thing. What do you do? He'd probably just go on iRacing. It's not iRacing all the time anyway.
Well, he would
care, but
he got his license to do sports car racing at the Nürburgring, I believe. He's looking to do some stuff like that. I mean, that's what he does. He's really interested in sports car racing on iRacing because it's just really big on there. So
him and a GTP would go crazy. Imagine him at Detroit, what we just talked about. He would
he would. Yeah, he would.
Oh my God.
That would actually be really entertaining. I would love to see Max Verstappen in sports car racing. I think everyone wants to, because F1 is F1. It's just,
it'd be huge.
You're not getting the best racing out of your drivers, I think. My thing with Verstappen is I feel has spent a lot of his career unchallenged, not challenged, in terms of obviously when he was chasing the Mercedes, that was one thing, but he was still kind of in his own little island. Well, maybe that was just 2020. Like he was maybe fighting Bottas for second or whatever while Lewis was checked out. And then, of course, the last few years, Verstappen was literally checked out all on his own. It wasn't until the McLarens popped up and we've seen. And that's where my criticism started coming up for him, where it's like he's literally running Lando off the track and stuff. And people are like, oh, no, that's fine. That's just how F1 is. Like, we want to see aggressive racing. I want to see aggressive racing too, but I don't want to see stupid racing. There's a difference.
Yeah. And one of our Patreon members, Dirt, once again, says he's sick of Max Verstappen's antics. The FIA had a chance to send a message by sitting him out for Canada. And he asks us, should the FIA have taken Verstappen out of the ride, or is making him drive on eggshells for the next 2 races enough of a punishment?
Is Canada the next race?
Must be. I think so.
Okay. I mean,
our friend Elizabeth Blackstock will be there. I saw she posted that.
They have, they have a system in place for it. He's really close to getting a race ban, so I think they are ready to send a message. I think they did send a message by giving him penalty points. So I see what you're saying, but they're following with the processes they have in place. So I don't have any complaints about that.
Admittedly, I don't watch F1 regularly, and I don't know the rules in depth as I do with NASCAR and IndyCar. But I don't know how they give out penalty points necessarily, but I would assume that they gave out the proper amount, unless you're saying that they should have given him just one more for a ban, unless you mean like
I think they have a set amount for certain incidents. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Because
I assume they didn't just give him one less just to keep him in.
Yeah,
I
don't think it's too big of a deal.
It's gonna be funny seeing if he actually tones down.
Well,
or not.
The thing about F1 in general is it's just like they got to get a grasp on what kind of racing they want to allow, because they let Verstappen do whatever the heck he wants to the McLarens, and it's just like, and I don't know, it's kind of a long-term issue that I'm interested to see where it goes next with Max specifically, because this is going to be his first year where he's not winning the championship. I think that's what it's looking like. So
right.
I don't know.
And I have been playing a lot of the F1 game, and I just did Barcelona, where they were at Spain relatively recently. And such a fun track in the game, by the way.
One of my favorite tracks.
I got third, I think, on a whole bunch of strategy. It rained in my race and everything. So I had a lot of fun watching this. And I'm actually loving F1 right now. Like, I'm just really into it.
I like
Miami.
Well, I just like it because you just get to kind of like where I'm kind of liking IndyCar right now somewhat, because I just get to see a nice race play out. Whereas NASCAR, you got stage breaks and stuff. It's just nice to see a race play out. F1 too, with their tire strategy, and F1's coverage is pretty on top of it with, they're following all the little things that are going on in the race, and it's always refreshing to watch F1. I never have that bad of a time watching F1, even when the race is boring, because the coverage is good.
Yeah. So, and Oscar Piastri did win once again, and he extended his point lead over Lando Norris. It's now Piastri in the point lead, Norris -10, and Verstappen -49.
This McLaren battle is going to be fun. Because I don't know. Lando had a blow last week. He put a blow on Oscar and won Monaco. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll just see how it develops.
Do you think this could get to Hamilton, Rosberg levels 2016?
That makes me excited for October and November.
Yeah.
You asking me that question?
I think Lando is going to get pissed up.
He's a little brat. He
doesn't have he seems like he would have such a short temper, and I think now that like McLaren's like championship level, I think Lando feels like, oh, it's my time. Yay. Like we talked about this a few weeks ago. And then Oscar comes on to just a little better, and it's just like, oh, like I think it's gonna boil over for Lando, and he's gonna take him out or something.
And think about the desperation, because there's new regulations next year. There's no guarantee they will have the best car on the grid next year. Like
this might be their only shot.
Both of these drivers have never won championships before. What's that desperation gonna look like?
Right.
That's what I'm very curious about. Oh, this could get really good.
This is really cool.
This could get really good. This could get really good. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. F1's fun, you guys. I'm glad I'm back into it.
I like full season championships.
Yeah.
I know IndyCar and IMSA are examples of why like they can suck, but also, dude, they're full.
Well,
I just want to see the champion get crowned. That's
Zack,
all I want.
I know another full season championship, and that's our fantasy game. And Zach, you actually got a win.
Good weekend.
in IndyCar, and you got 1 point in NASCAR. For IndyCar, it's now 10 you, and I have 6. The next race is Gateway in a few weeks. Michigan. For Nashville, I had Larson who finished 8th, and you had Hamlin who finished 3rd. You get to pick first for Michigan because you are 4 points behind me.
I'm 4. Oh, that's IndyCar. Oh, okay. I was looking. Okay, I'm an idiot. Okay, I do get to pick first. I will be picking Carson Hocevar to win Michigan.
Ooh, okay. Hometown race for Carson.
Is it?
Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
He's
why
from Michigan.
Yeah, that's why I feel the energy. Yeah, it's going to happen this season, and I don't see why it's not going to happen next week. I have no reason to believe it's not going to happen next week.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to be you got to be aggressive to make passes at Michigan with like the speed. I think he's going to be a terrorist out there. So
Michigan's a really good track for Ford. I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney going back to back. We've seen a lot of back to backs this year.
That would be really cool. Bell. That would be really cool for him to go back to back, actually, for Ford. Oh, yep. That's so cool. I realize I told you this. I have never seen Ford win in person.
That's crazy to me. And you love Ford.
I love Ford. Just buy a Mustang. I think I need to be a Ryan Blaney fan. Because it upsets me. We were talking about
this last night when we FaceTimed, and I was like, why aren't you? He's like literally your kind of driver, and you're not a fan of him.
He's hot.
Like, huh?
I love the color yellow. He drives a Ford. Team Penske. I love Team Penske, kind of. I don't like the NASCAR side much. Like, why am I not a Blaney fan? Maybe I am a Blaney fan now. I'm going to get a shirt. Go 12. Oh, my gosh.
Go 12.
I would love to see him win in person. I hope you get to see him win in person because you haven't been able to do that.
I haven't. What we need is you, me, and our friend Brooke to all go to a race together, and Ryan wins. And then
that would be
world peace.
Core memory. That would be such a core memory. And then I would get to see a Ford win.
Yes, exactly.
That would be so cool. I love Blaney. Blaney, I need a Blaney shrine over here. I'm going to make space for a Blaney shrine.
Take down those Kyle Larson pictures and hang up Wire B. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening or watching. Happy Pride Month. We have a big month planned, as we talked about at the start of the show. And again, Patreon members, you can find out who our first Pride Month guest is right now, actually. So I'm going to post it right after we're done recording. And we have a kind comment from Chris on Patreon who said, Happy Pride. No hot takes this week. Just wanted to say thank you for making a great space for LGBTQ plus racing fans and where we can all be part of the sport we love. Thank you so much, Chris. Chris has always given us comments to talk about every week. I really appreciate that. And again, patreon.com/gayracingpod to join some of the comments read throughout the episode and find out who our guests are and to watch episodes early. And you can consider giving us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Consider liking and subscribing on YouTube. Follow us on socials at Gay Racing Pod on Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can follow Zach on at Dreamy Zach Racing on Blue Sky and Twitter, and me at New Gaden on Blue Sky, and sometimes Twitter.
Yeah, we got a really cool video coming out like tomorrow, Tuesday. You might be listening on Tuesday, so check our YouTube channel. It might be up by the time you're listening. So that will be really good. It was a really cool thing we got to do. So
very fun.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We will see you guys next week to talk about NASCAR at Michigan. Everyone stay safe. Enjoy your Pride Month, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.